video on the precise taping procedure. In this video, we'll cover 3 topics. The topics are the precise taping crew, 6 steps in the precise taping procedure, and reading the adding and cutting tape. The crew consists typically of 3 persons. The first person is the rear tape person with a plumb bob and a 100-foot end of the tape. The second person is the head tape person with the tension handle, plumb bob, hand level, chaining pins, and the 0-foot end of the tape. The third person is the note keeper with the notebook and thermometer. There are 6 steps in the taping procedure for precise measurement. First step is called a line, also known as lining in. Second step is tension, applying pull to the tape. Thirdly, plumb the tape, keeping the tape ends at the same elevation. Fourthly, mark the tape, establishing reference points on the ground. 5, read the tape. And 6, record the observation. In step 1, we align the tape and we use range poles set behind the endpoints of the line. The rear tape person will be at A and the head tape person will be on line at point B. We can see that we set range poles at the end of the line, both at A and at B on line, such that we can sight the line for alignment purposes. The rear tape person holding the 100-foot end of the tape at A, the head tape person and the note keeper at the 0-foot end of the tape in the forward end of the survey. Direction of survey is always from the 100-foot end to the 0-foot end. The second step is to apply tension. We apply a standard pull using the tension handle to maintain a consistent sag at the center of the tape. In sketch view, we can see that we have the 100-foot end over A and the 0-foot end over B, and we apply a consistent tension to both ends of the tape. And what this will do is this will guarantee that the sag in the center of the tape is consistent for every layout of that tape. Again, the direction of survey is always from the 100-foot end toward the 0-foot end in the survey. Step 3 is to plumb the tape ends. We want to make sure that the tape is horizontal and that we are measuring horizontal distances directly. So in our sketch, the tape is held at an elevation at the 100-foot end at the same elevation as the 0-foot end where the head tape person is present. What we do is we plumb the line over the points of interest, over our beginning point in the survey, and then we'll plumb our line to the point where we will mark the ground. And again, direction of survey is from the 100-foot end to the 0-foot end. The fourth step is to mark full tape lengths. The head tape person sticks the forward chaining pin on line with B. 4 steps here. The rear tape person will be calling out mark whenever the plumb bob is over the rear point. The head tape person, upon hearing mark, uses the point of the plumb bob to create a small divot in the ground, then yells back, mark. The head tape person then sticks the chaining pin in the created divot, perpendicular to the line at a 45-degree angle with the ground. Finally, the rear tape person and head tape person will check the mark by making a checking measurement. In sketch, we can see that in this picture, direction of survey is out toward you. We can see that here is the cross section of the tape where the head tape person is holding the tape. Here is the plumbed line to the ground, and this plumb bob should be just above the ground surface, should not be touching. Once the mark has been called and set, the plumb bob is dropped into the ground. A divot is created by twirling the plumb bob, and then the plumb bob is pulled away. The chaining pin is driven into the ground through that small divot at a 45-degree angle with the ground, perpendicular to the line of the survey. We continue steps 1 to 4, measuring off successive differences equal to the tape length following those steps. We do this until the distance between the most recently stuck chaining pin and the line endpoint is less than the tape length. In our sketch, we can see that in this particular scenario, we have 3 full tape lengths measuring out plus a partial tape length. Essentially what's happening here is that the rear tape person is chaining off the first 100 feet with the head tape person's assistant in the direction of the survey. The head tape person will set a chaining pin in the ground for use by the rear tape person when the tape is pulled forward. Once the tape is pulled forward, rear tape person plumbs over the previously set chaining pin. The head tape person then puts a second chaining pin in on the ground such that the rear tape person can move forward and plumb off at this point for the next full tape segment. And finally, we complete this process by repeating steps 1 through 4 with the head tape person setting a chaining pin in the ground such that the rear tape person can move forward and have a starting point for the partial measurement. Step 5 is to read the partial tape. There are two types of tapes available in the precise taping method. The first tape is called an add tape. It has a total length of 101 feet. In plan view, this tape looks something like this. You can see that we have a 0 mark and a +1 mark on the tape, and then we have in the other direction the 1, 2, 3, etc., clear on down to 100 way out at the other end of the tape. We can see that if the chaining pin was set in the ground in this particular area, the rear tape person will locate the full foot mark on the tape, and the head tape person will make sure that the tack in the stake of the final mark is in fact between the 0 and the +1 mark. And so in this particular case, the partial measurement is 28 feet plus 0.47 more feet in the +1 portion of the tape. In a cut tape, the total length is 100 feet. And in a cut tape, we can see that, in fact, the fine divisions on the tape are between 0 and 1 on the tape as we progress towards the 100-foot mark. So there is not an extra segment of tape on the end of the 100-foot tape. The tape is only 100 feet long. And so in this particular case, the rear chaining person would line up with 29, and the head tape person would be reading on the cut end of the tape 0.53. And in this particular case, then, the final measurement would be 29 minus the 0.53. We would cut off the 0.53 to get a measurement of 28.47. The final step is to record the measurement. We'll assume that we have 3 full tape lengths marked off before the partial measurement. And so in the adding tape, the recording is as follows. We note that we have 3 chaining pins stuck in the ground. We have 3 100-foot segments. So that's 300 feet, plus the 28-foot mark read by the rear tape person in the parcel, and the 0.47 read by the head tape person in the partial measurement. So the total sum is 300 plus 28 plus the 0.47 for 328.47. For the cut tape, it's very similar, except when we get to the fine divisions on the partial measurement, we're subtracting. So it's 3 times 100 plus the 29-foot mark minus the 0.53. Gives us the same measurement, but just a subtraction process instead of an addition process. Why 2 different types of tapes? Well, the adding tape is for ease of addition of the numbers in the field. Very easy to add up the partial measurement. The cut tape was created such that there would not be a chance for error of laying out 101 feet instead of 100 feet. With that extra foot mark in the adding tape, it's possible to mark the 100-foot mark and then mark the 101-foot mark, thinking that you have 100 feet between the 2 endpoints, but in fact you have 101. Once you do the recording, the precise measurement is complete. So, to summarize, we talked about the precise taping crew. We also mentioned the 6 steps in precise taping procedure, and we noted the differences between the reading, the adding, and the cut tapes. The outcomes from this video, hopefully you have the ability to understand the duties of a precise taping crew, you'll understand the precise taping procedure, and you have become familiar with the difference between an add and a cut tape. This ends the video lesson.